going to be wet. But don't you worry, I can adapt my knowledge to the wet. I'm ready for what's going to be a treacherous Melbourne Cup day. 53 mil of rain expected on a stingy website I looked at called YR. None of the big like Bomb or anything like that had the Tuesday forecast yet. So I had to look at every website I could until I could find one. And I found YR. I compared their forecast for the next couple of days to the Bomb, and they're actually pretty similar. And they're expecting 53 mil on Tuesday, currently on Tuesday the 28th, for Tuesday the whatever it is, 5th of November or 4th of November. 22 mil of that is expected to fall during the meeting. I cannot wait. It's going to be a great Melbourne Cup day. I've got my snorkel, got my goggles ready. We're going to have a great day on the punt. The forecast might change till then, but it's not looking good. I'm going to take these off now so you guys can take me seriously. We're going to look at the foundations of the Melbourne Cup race itself, going through the likely field, going through some of the most recent news, and finishing with the window. Unfortunately, the goggles have left a mark under my eye, so it's probably going to be a bit of a pain to look at for the video. I'll play as many clips as I can so you don't have to look at my face. But we're going to start, like I said, with the foundations of the Melbourne Cup. So if you don't know much about racing and you just clicked on this video and see me wearing a snorkel within the first minute, the Melbourne Cup is a 3,200 metre Group 1 event worth $10 million to be run at the Flemington Racecourse over the 3,200 metre start. Getting onto the news side of it now, the Melbourne Cup third acceptances were declared yesterday, and we have knocked out about 8 horses out of the Cup. So Adelaide River, Braden Star, Cleveland, Gilded Water, who got into as short as about $15 in the marketplace at one point, Point King, Revelare, who won one of the Win and You're In races, the Archer Stakes to be specific, and he was fancied by many, Kings Valley and also Dashing Duchess. Now let's take a look at the likely field. The field is shaping up now for the 2025 Melbourne Cup. Al Riffa will carry the number 1 saddlecloth. Buckaroo, apparently of this morning, is a 50-50 chance. We're going to get into a bit of a deep dive about Buckaroo later on in the video, but he's in there for now. Damien Lane booked to ride the Japanese horse in Chevalier Rose. Further down the page, Maidan has James McDonald. Still no jockey for Land Legend. I love the jockey of Flatten the Curve. Not only is his name Thor, but he's got Hammer in his second name, and that's what Thor carries, you know, the superhero Thor. He carries a hammer. Thor Hammer Hansen is riding in the Melbourne Cup, and I just laughed when I saw that, to be honest. I think that's quite funny. Shouldn't really be laughing at people's names, but come on, Thor Hammer Hansen, that's gold. Further down the page, Half Yours, the favourite, is in there. One Smooth Operator in there. Further's in there. We got a few internationals in a row there. One Smooth Operator, Further, and Parchment Party. Goody Two Shoes not far behind those saddlecloths as well. Getting right down to the bottom, Torrenzino and Valiant King, who's come into equal favouritism. The Too Darn Hot, Never Shot the Deputy Colt, has black type potential. Take a moment to look at the amount of stacked talent in this horse's pedigree. You can pause if you want. I rate Too Darn Hot as one of the best sires in the country right now. He's already sired 2-year-old stakes winner this season in Sheiky. This colt is set to be trained by Tom Davenant, who Flying Start have had great success with through stakes winner, Flying Mascot, and other regular winners in Dreams L and Calder Glory. Shares start from $3,775, so hit the link in the description to secure your share today. Alright, let's get into a bit of a deep dive about Buckaroo. While I'm telling you the most recent news, I'll have the Cox Plate playing in the background, where he was narrowly defeated by Via Sistina just last Saturday. Look, it was of the opinion by the general public on Sunday morning that Buckaroo was going to go to the Champions Stakes and take on Via Sistina, as we heard that the run out of the Melbourne Cup last year from Buckaroo took a lot out of the horse. Then we heard something different on radio yesterday morning, Monday morning, that he was in fact going to the Melbourne Cup. And now Tuesday morning, when Chris Waller was interviewed at Flemington, he says it's a 50-50. So I don't know what's going on, to be honest. I don't know who to believe anymore. So Buckaroo may be going to the Cup. He might not be going to the Cup. I'm going to guess that he is. He's going to have Craig Williams if he goes, and that's a top rider. We had a runner ruled out 1 or 2 days ago, and it was Deacon. Now, Deacon failed the mandatory scans. Apparently, there was something wrong with Deacon's fetlocks, which placed him at a heightened risk of injury. Deacon was a horse that in the autumn won a win and you're in race in the Roy Higgins, and never really looked like winning in the Turnbull or the Caulfield Cup, but still ran decent races on both occasions. Daniel Stackhouse was booked to ride Deacon in the Cup. Let's now talk about one smooth operator. We're going to take a look at his Moonee Valley Gold Cup win just last Friday night at the Valley, where he swooped over the lot of them to take out the prize. He was $61 this time last week in Melbourne Cup markets, now into $15. Everyone was overlooking him due to his form heading into the Melbourne Cup this year, which has just been mediocre over there in England. But why would they be bringing him over here again if he wasn't up to standard? He showed that by finishing off well in the Moonee Valley Gold Cup to record a win. Out of the Moonee Valley Gold Cup, he has received a 1 kilo penalty, so he'll now carry the 53 kilos. And 2024 Caulfield Cup winning jockey Harry Coffey has been booked to ride one smooth operator. As I said earlier in the video, James McDonald has been booked to ride Meydan, and he was giving it a real pump up on radio the other morning. Said that he screams of Flemington, screams of a 3200 metre horse. He couldn't believe how good he worked and how he felt. He was terrific, really pleased with him, were James McDonald's words. So that's a pump up if you like Meydan. I want to touch on 2 more horses before getting onto the window. Torrenzino, we're going to take a look at his Geelong Cup win from last Thursday, narrowly defeating the King's Horse in Gilded Water to win his way into the Melbourne Cup. It's a big chance for Celine Gaudray on Tuesday to deliver something special. Look, the horse itself, Torrenzino, I can't see winning a Melbourne Cup, but off the form factors and the figures that I've got, Torrenzino's a chance. So again, I'm not sure what to believe. Do I believe my head or do I believe the numbers in front of me? I'm going to believe the numbers in front of me and say Torrenzino is a chance, but I'm not sure. The last runner I want to touch on is Arapaho. He's currently in the field, but he is yet to run in his lead-up race, which is the Bendigo Cup tomorrow. He has to carry the grandstand 61 kilos compared to everyone else with 54.5 or less. So that's going to be a big task, but at his best, he's a really good horse, Arapaho, and he's $51 in Melbourne Cup markets at the moment. We're going to finish off this video by taking a look at how the window is looking. If you don't know what the window is, I'll put a few YouTube links in the description of other videos where I explain what the window is, but basically on this graph here, 12 out of the last 15 Melbourne Cup winners have been in this window off my scores prior to the Melbourne Cup. The only ones that haven't been in there are Knight's Choice, I don't know how that horse won, and Cross Counter and Rekindling, who are Northern Hemisphere 3-year-olds. So we know about 90% of the form factors now. The things that we still don't know that I haven't input yet is obviously the barrier and also the predicted in-run positions. So that's what we're still waiting on. But these are likely scores that they're going to have by the time I put my Melbourne Cup preview on Saturday night on YouTube. So let's take a look at the graph now for this year's Melbourne Cup. And you can see there's only really about 5 horses in the window, and they are Presage Nocturne, who we saw out of the Caulfield Cup when I did that video, Middle Earth, who's made his way into the window after his run on Saturday in the JRA Cup, Parchment Party, the American, Al Riffa, and One Smooth Operator. Some key horses to take note of. The 2 favourites, Half Yours and Valiant King, didn't score well on profit and turnover scores. What that means logically is they're too short. Further is very high up, and it's sort of near the Northern Hemisphere 3-year-olds in Rekindling and also Cross Counter. So I think Further can't be dismissed either. So if we go back to my Al Riffa has too much weight video, where I said that the past 5, it takes a bit of a while to go back through the Melbourne Cups and get this information, but the past 5 Melbourne Cups, the winner has ranked in the top 10 bullet scores and has been in the window, well, apart from Knight's Choice, and they need to be in the top 3 in the window, which is ranked on saddlecloth order, or top 3 in the residuals, which the graph that we're looking at is y equals 2.05 plus 0.18x. So it's a bit complicated, but at the moment, the horses that fit this, Al Riffa, Presage Nocturne, and Middle Earth. So those 3 horses are the ones that I'm looking at backing currently with the form factors we've got at hand. However, I believe Al Riffa has too much weight. It's going to be a slog on Tuesday. It's going to be a really wet surface, and I think that just makes Al Riffa's task a lot tougher with the weight that it's going to carry. So I'm happy to knock Al Riffa out of those 3 and put further in. If you're a regular watcher of the channel, you know I've been bullish on Further for quite a while. Follows the same sort of path as Rekindling and Il Paradiso. So at the moment, the 3 I'm looking at are Presage Nocturne, Further, and Middle Earth. But once we know all of the form factors, you'll have to watch my Melbourne Cup tips video on Saturday night when it comes out after the barrier draw to get who I'm backing and my overall look at the race. Well, thanks everyone for watching this video. Hopefully you learned a thing or two about the Melbourne Cup. Thanks again for watching. Remember to pack your goggles and your snorkel for Tuesday.